Hello and welcome to my Yu-Gi-Oh channel. Today we've got the revelation of 3 classic GX Season 1 cards. These cards are particularly powerful, not really, but they're all quite iconic in their own way and each support a different character. The first one is the Maiden Love. This is a level 2 light attribute spellcaster effect monster. It has 400 attack and 300 defense. 1. Opponent's monsters that can attack this card must attack it. 2. It cannot be destroyed by battle. And 3. If this card battles an opponent's monster, at the end of the damage step, you can activate one of these effects. Either place one maiden counter on one face-up monster your opponent controls, or take control of one opponent's monster with a maiden counter. This card doesn't have particularly high attack or defense, but that's not necessary for it to have, provided it has these other effects. This came out from the original season of Yu-Gi-Oh! GX, and the whole story behind it was that this girl who ended up in the Slifer Red Dorm had some sort of crush on Zane Truesdale, and in order to kind of get into the academy, she lied about her age. She was incredibly intelligent, but she was of an age where she shouldn't have been at the academy. She was just far too young. She managed to get her way in and started kind of sneaking around Zane's dorm, trying to take things, and, sniffing cards for whatever reason. She was kind of dealt with by it, by being challenged by Jaden to find out what her motive was, and actually Zane and Alexis ended up kind of snooping on the duel, looking and finding out that she kind of had a crush on Zane. First ability on this card just forces your opponent's monsters to attack onto this card. That is kind of necessary, otherwise you'd have to be using very old school cards such as Battlemania, which was a card used in 5Ds, or you would even have to use Staunch Defender, and you'll see a card like this was used in episode, I think it was 42, by Jaden Yuki, and that was a duel against the Dual Spirit Dark Magician Girl, to force the Magician's Valkyria to attack into his elemental hero Flame Wingman, to use its own effect. Second ability is also quite vital on this card, as it cannot be destroyed by battle. This will help you to keep this card out, but keep in mind you are still taking the battle damage, so you will have to use things like, I believe Spirit's Barrier is a good continuous trap card, which prevents you from taking any battle damage, provided you have a monster face up on your... Well, if you have a monster in your field, you're no longer taking any damage, so the two cards pair quite well. Third ability, as soon as an opponent's monster happens to have battled, either they gain a maiden counter on a monster your opponent controls, and it's nice that you get to choose which monster. It doesn't have to be the monster that battles, it can be another of your opponent's monsters. And the other ability is to take control of one opponent's monster with the main counter. So you have to use one ability before the other to get this card to really set up. You are going to have your opponent go into this card, and you're also going to have to use this on your turn to battle into your opponent's cards in order to then steal their monsters. It's okay, but I believe this would have been fine if it had been released back in 2003, when it might have had some viability. As it is now, there are so many cards that just outright negate this effect, and can just walk over this card. Eucalyptus Mole is a level 3 Earth attribute plant type effect monster. It has 300 attack and 1300 defense. You can only use the first and second effects of this card's name each once per turn. 1. If this card is normal or special summoned, you can special summon one level 4 or lower beast monster from your deck in face down defense position. Then if this card is in attack position, change it to defense position. And 2. If this card is destroyed, you can special summon one koala monster or one tree otter from your deck, and if you do, apply this effect until the end of the next turn. Non-effect beast monsters you control gain attack equal to their own original defense. Note that Tree Otter's OCG name has koala in it, so that's the reference to it. This was used by Chumley Huffington, and I believe this was a duel. It was a graduation-based duel that he had to face against Dr. Velian Crowler, against her ancient beasts, ancient gear golem monsters, and that archetype. It has barely any attack or defense points. It's very minimal in terms of what it does, but each of its effects are quite useful in their own way. First ability, as soon as it's normal or special summoned, you're able to just special summon a level 4 or lower beast monster from your deck in face down defense position. And then once you do that, this card gets changed to defense position to help protect your life points. Most likely you are going to go with your Des Koala, as when that card happens to be flip summoned, your opponent takes 400 points of life point damage for each card they have in their hand, so that's general idea of what you want to do. You can go with other monsters, but that's the basic combo you're looking for. Second effect, as soon as this card is destroyed, you can just special summon a koala monster or a tree otter monster from your deck. Tree otter has the ability, as soon as it's kind of on the field, you can boost your beast monster's attack points by 1,000 until the end of the turn. It's a good way of getting over some of your opponent's monsters, or one of your koala monsters. So that can be the Des Koala, it can be the big koala. I'm sure there are other koala monsters that will be introduced later down the line. And you get incentivized if you happen to be special summoning a non-effect beast monster, as it mimics the kind of effect that was used within the duel. I can't remember what it was called, but there's a spell card which allows your monster to absorb its defense points into its attack points, but the downside of that effect is that it destroys your beast monster that was boosted by that effect at the end of the turn. But there was also a trap card called Beast Soul Swap, which allowed you to kind of mitigate that, because you swap that card out, it goes back to your hand, and it gets summoned back onto the field to prevent that destruction. This allows you to do that type of effect, but it works not only until your turn, but the end of your opponent's turn, whereas the previous spell card doesn't. And it doesn't have any downsides to it, so that's actually quite useful. The final card is called Soul Union. It's a normal trap card. You can only activate one card with this card's name per turn. Target one face-up monster on the field and one elemental hero monster in your graveyard. That monster on the field gains attack equal to the attack of other monster until the end of this turn. Then if you have an elemental hero normal monster on your field and or in your graveyard, you can fusion summon one elemental hero fusion monster from your extra deck by banishing its materials from your graveyard. The first part of the effect allows you to choose any monster that you have on the field, and it gets boosted by whatever your elemental hero you choose that happens to be in your graveyard. That's fine because you have various elemental heroes. You've got them ranging anywhere from 800 attack. Well, no, the weakest of them is elemental hero Nospi that has 600 attack points, all the way up to, I don't think there's anything higher than Blade Edge with 2,600 attack points, outside of maybe the fusions. But if you're looking at just your basic range heroes, that's kind of your strongest one. If you're looking at fusions, you might be looking about 3,000 attack points at kind of the higher end, which is a decent boost. If you happen to have an elemental hero normal monster on the field and or the graveyard, you're then incentivized to then banish it, to then fusion summon it into one of your other fusion monsters. I believe this was used in the duel against the Satellite Duelist, and that was the one used in Yu-Gi-Oh! GX Season 2. I think he used the satellites to help support Sartorius, and it was used to protect Jaden from taking too much life points and damage, and to go into his elemental hero Shining Flare Man, because he already had the Flaming Man on the field, he had the Spark Man in the graveyard, and so he was able to not only protect his life points, but to be able to go and defeat the opponent. I'd love to know what you guys think of these various cards. Personally, I think they're quite useful, one for each of the archetypes to support each of these characters. My personal favourite is actually the Koala one, but I love the Eucalyptus Mole, I love the Beast type support, and I actually love Beast type archetype anyway. Very much a fan of the Thunder Unicorn archetype from Yu-Gi-Oh! 5Ds, and I wonder how that can kind of interact within those decks. As always, I'd love for you to support the channel. If you can watch another video at the end screen, it really helps. Thank you very much.